Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I wanted to show you one of the brand new products from Art Impressions. This is from the Hats Off series, and this is Mr. Hat. And we're going to be creating this fun backyard barbecue scene. So let's go ahead and get started. So for paper today, we're going to be using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock, and we're using the largest die from the Rectangle A2 double stitch dies. And these are from Art Impressions. We're going to run that through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and we're going to cut 2 of these. So with this first panel, I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 1 1/2 inch. So that's going to sit at the bottom of our card. I'm just going to temporarily tape this down with a little bit of my Tombow tape just to hold it down while we do some stenciling. I'm using the lawn clipping stencil. This is the brick stencil. And just to make sure this doesn't move around as well, I'm going to tape this down with a little bit of purple tape. So I'm just going to secure that in place. So for ink, I'm using the Fired Brick Distress Oxide ink from Tim Holtz. And we're going to apply some color on here, but I don't want it to be even. So I'm going to pat a little extra on in certain areas just to give it the look and texture of brick. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. And this is going to create the little brick wall for our patio. Now to add a little bit more texture to this brick wall, I'm just again going to pat on a little more color here and there, just kind of random. Then I'm going to grab the Black Soot Distress Oxide, and I'm kind of pouncing this on, just sort of tapping it on, just adding some color here. And again, very random. And then I'll take the Rusty Hinge, and this will give it a little bit more of that look of brick. So I'm going to just pat on some of this color as well. And now you can see that we have this beautiful brick pattern. So I'll take a little bit of the black soot and add it along the top border of our brick wall. And that'll just define that top edge a little bit more. Now to do the sky, I'm going to use Chipped Sapphire, Stormy Sky, and Speckled Egg. And I want that sky to start just above that brick wall that we already created. So I'm going to start with the Chipped Sapphire. And I'm going to pat on a good bit of color here. Just get a nice thick coating of it here. And then I'll blend that up a little bit. Now I'll take the Stormy Sky and blend that right into that Chipped Sapphire and just kind of blend those two together. And then I'll do the same thing with the Speckled Egg, just bringing that all the way up to the top of this panel. Now you can see that I want it to be the darkest there, right along the top of that brick wall. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of a darker tone there and then blend that up towards the top. So now let's grab this fence die. This is from the Art Impressions die set. This is called the Watercolor Arbor Set. And I'm going to die cut 2 of these out of some black 100-pound cardstock. So I'll just run those through the Sizzix Sidekick machine. And now I have both of those. So we're just going to fit those across the card here. So I'll go ahead and glue down the brick panel that we have here. And again, that also has stitching on 3 sides. And you want to put that side that we inked with the black at the top. And then we'll attach the little railing around the brick patio. I'm going to place this one right along that left edge, and then I'll line up the second one, and we'll be hiding that where these two meet. The Mr. Hat will be right in front of that, so that won't show. That little seam that we're creating won't show. So I'm going to go ahead and just overlap these two right there, and then I'll place this right along the top edge of that brick wall, and then I'll go ahead and I can cut away any excess here. So now I wanted to have a string of lights on my patio. This string of lights is from the Happy Trails set, and you can see all the other cute little images that you get on here. So I'm going to just kind of place this at the very top. I've placed it in my Mini Misty stamp positioner. I'll be inking it using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this about 3 times right at the top here. I just want a little cluster of lights right across the top of the patio here. So I'm just going to clean that off and then reposition that here on the left-hand side of my card. And I just need to slide that over a little bit so that I have enough room to place that stamp down. I'll go ahead and ink that again. And then I'm going to stamp this one more time just to connect those lights together right along the middle here. And I was just trying to decide here where the best placement of that was. But I did decide just to center it there at the top. So once I stamped all 3 of these, I went ahead and heat set these with my heat tool. And then to make them look like they had light coming off of them, I used a sponge dauber and I just sponged on a little bit of color. And I apologize, my camera wasn't on when I did that. But I put up at the top here what I had used. I used my mustard seed distress oxide ink and a sponge dauber and just kind of patted on a little bit of color around each of those lights. And now I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pen in the yellow just to add a little bit more light to each of those little lights there, just to brighten them up a little bit. And to finish off these lights, I'm adding some Nuvo Crystal Glaze to each of these lights, and that will make them look like glass. And I'll show you that up close here in a minute. So you can get a good look at that, and that really gives them a lot of dimension as well. So now I'm taking some gray cardstock. I'm using a 65-pound weight, but you could use any weight cardstock here. And I'm running that largest rectangle through the machine again, and I'm going to cut a panel at 1/2 inch. So again, that'll have stitching on the 2 sides and on the bottom as well. And on the side that doesn't have stitching, I'm going to darken up that edge again, just like we did before, with some black soot distress oxide ink. And that's going to be the floor, the cement floor for our patio. So that'll go right down here at the bottom of this panel. I'm using some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to attach this. And again, I'll just line that up right at the bottom here. So next I'll show you the brand new set of stamps from the Hats Off collection, and this is Mr. Hat. And he comes with all these cute, adorable little hats that he can wear. And we also have some tools and the little spatula we're going to be using today, and we'll be using that chef's hat as well as that sentiment that says well done. So I just think this set is just adorable. I know it's going to get a lot of use. Now with the flesh color and the pink haze and the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, I'm going to go ahead and color his face, arms, and legs. So I'm just starting with the pink, just laying a little bit of that down, and then I'll use the flesh color and then kind of blend that in towards the center of his face and just gently blend into his cheeks there. And I'm using the blender pen to do all of my blending. but you could also use a water brush here as well. You want to clean off your blender pen between colors, so to do that you can scribble it onto your scrap paper until it goes clear, and then you'll know you can go ahead and change colors. You can also use this blender pen to remove color as well. So if you get too much color on your image, you can just grab some of that color off of the image and then scribble it onto your scrap paper until you get the right amount of color. So I'll continue blending that, and then I'll grab the brick beige to do his pants. I kind of wanted them to have sort of a khaki look to them. So I'm just going to add some of those darker shades at the top and along the sides here, and then pull it in towards the center of each of those pant legs. And I'm just adding a little bit more shadow there in the center, and then kind of pulling it again in towards the middle of the pant leg there. So you can keep adding color here until you get to just the right amount of shading. Now with light gray, I'm going to keep his sneakers white, but just add a little bit of a shadow here with the gray. And then with mid brown, I'll go ahead and do the belt. And back to that light gray, I'll do a little bit on that belt buckle. And then again, I'll add a little shadow to his socks here as well. I'm just adding a little color to his hair, and then with yellow and pale yellow, I'll go ahead and do the shirt here. And again, just kind of adding some shadows. I am using the 2 shades of yellow here to get some shadowing. Now with the pants, I just used that one shade and I just kept applying more color to get the shade that I wanted. So you can do it either way. You can just add more layers of that same color, or you can use 2 or 3 colors to add your shading. These Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens are really forgiving and really easy to use. And I do prefer the Bristol Smooth cardstock when I'm using the Zigs. It just seems to blend really easy. It seems to keep that ink up on top of the paper. Gives me plenty of time to do my blending. But try other color or other types of papers as well and see what you like the best. Now with black and light gray, I'm going to do the little spatula here. I'll just add a little color to either end and then blend that in towards the center. And then add a little bit of light gray towards the end here. Going back to the light gray, I want to keep his chef's hat. Just keep it white, so I'm just going to add a few little shadows here and there. So now I'll go back to that same set of rectangle dies we used before, and I'm going to grab the smallest one. And I'm going to die cut my sentiment. I've already stamped that sentiment well done, and that's from that same stamp set I showed you earlier. And I'm taping that down with a little bit of purple tape, and I'm going to run that through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. So you'll notice that I'm only cutting part of this. That left side is just a straight edge, but I want to create that stitching on that left side as well. So this panel, this rectangle was just a little bit too large, so we're just going to make this a little bit smaller. We're going to create that stitched line on the left hand side as well. So I'm just lining it right back up in that die, and I'm going to run that through again. And that'll give me that stitching all the way around, and it gives us the size that we need here. Now just to finish this off, I'm going to add a little bit of that black soot Distress Oxide ink all the way around the edges of this panel. So the next thing I want to do is create a few elements for our scene. So I'm going to be using these here. I'm going to use 3 of those birds, and that little vine there as well. We're going to use that as a branch that's coming across our patio. So this set is the Birdhouse Cubbies Set, again from Art Impressions. So let's go ahead and stamp using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink and some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock again. And we're going to stamp a few of those little vines and those 3 little birds. So we'll start off with light green and deep green, and we're going to go ahead and start with that lighter color. And then I'll add a little bit of that darker color towards the base of each of these leaves. And then we'll just pull that out towards the tips. I also want to mention to you that there's 2 other sets in this Hats Off series that was just released, and that's the Mrs. set and the Miss set. And I'll be showing you those as well in the upcoming week, so keep an eye out for those. They're just adorable. So here I'm adding a little bit of light yellow and the darker yellow just to kind of add a little bit more highlight to these leaves. And I only ended up using 2 of these sets of leaves, so you could just stamp 2 and that would be fine. So here you can see I'm adding that little bit of a highlight here. Now I'll color in that other set of leaves off camera, and then I'll do the birds using pink haze and cobalt blue. I'm putting down the pink haze first, and then I'm also going to add a little bit of the bright yellow to the beaks on each of these little birds. And then I'll add that cobalt blue. Once those are all colored in, I'm going to grab the coordinating dies, and that's what's great about these sets is they do have the coordinating dies. So I'm going to attach those with some purple tape and run those through the Sizzix Sidekick machine. And now I have these little vines. I'm going to use those as a couple little branches up here at the top of the card. And that little bird will be sitting on one of those. So I'm going to place him, kind of tuck him at the end of that branch there. And then I'll attach this second one, just kind of overlapping the 2 here. And then I'll add these other 2 little birds, one here on the top of this little brick wall, and then one down here on the floor of the patio. And then I'm just going to glue down the sentiment as well. So that sets the scene for our little barbecue chef. So I'm going to cut away any excess on those vines and just set aside those extras for another project. So I've got a standard A2 size card. It measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and attach this using my ATG 700 tape dispenser. And that's a nice strong permanent tape. So now I can die cut my little Mr. Hat, and I'm going to again tape that down, and this set also comes with the coordinating dies. So now I have all those little pieces die cut, and I can go ahead and attach his little chef's hat. And you'll see that the die cut the slit in the hat, and it does for all of the little hats that come with this set, which is really cute. So you just slide it on, and I'm putting a little glue on there just to hold it in place. And then there's also a little slit in his hand here to place any of these little items like the spatula or the hammer. You have a little slot there that you can slide that right in. So I'm just putting a little glue on the end of the spatula and gluing that down. So once these are dry, I'm going to go ahead and attach some Scotch foam mounting tape to the back of him because I do want to pop him up a little bit. So I just placed plenty of tape on the back here, and I'm just removing the backing. And then I can go ahead and place this on my card, and you'll see that he covers where that fence post overlaps. So that'll cover that nicely. So here's a closer look at our little barbecue scene. This little guy is just so cute. I can't wait to make some more cards with this guy. And again, we have the Miss set and the Mrs. set as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. As always, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.